Okay, this week, this is the third week, we're going to tackle chapter 4, Professionalism and Professional Relationships. Not a very long chapter, so this won't take very long, I'm guessing. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, funny cartoon. Professionalism and Professional Relationships, chapter 4. A professional is a person who has specialized training for a particular career and who acts in conscientious, appropriate ways in the workplace. Being a professional involves conducting yourself in an appropriate manner, dressing appropriately, being organized timely and accurately, recording meetings with colleagues and clients, being prepared for meetings. Now, this is really kind of interesting because both my kids used to be teachers. My daughter still is, but my son has moved on to one of the security agencies for the federal government. And it's kind of funny because when he was teaching, he had to dress a certain way. And now that he's working in a more relaxed environment for the federal government, what he wore before is not it's not necessary. It's not a, and of course people tell him, you don't need to dress so fancy. You don't need to wear a coat and tie. You don't need to wear slacks. You can wear jeans. You can wear shorts. And according to him, or as far as he's concerned, wearing the clothes that he wore to school was professional. And of course, now he feels like if he dresses down, that he won't be professional. But he keeps getting warnings from his colleagues that he's dressed too fancy. Maybe they're afraid that if if that catches on, they'll have to dress just as fancy as he does. So this is always a question: how are you supposed to dress as a counseling professional? How do you dress? Do you dress up? Do you dress down? Um, and the answer is you dress whatever makes your clients the most comfortable. Acting responsibly at all times. We're back on other things that make you a professional. You need to act responsibly at all times, behaving as a mature adult, of course, using language that is culturally appropriate, age appropriate, understandable, and not offensive, speaking honestly and with integrity, knowing how to communicate information. I had a colleague once who it was President Obama that decided that they needed to retire the word mentally retarded, the word retarded. So in 2011, he wrote it into the National Archives that they would change all indications that said that people were mentally retarded. They would change it to had an intellectual deficit or had an intellectual disability. But I had a friend who had worked for the federal government, and he was appalled by this, and he would not change, and we had to retire him because he would not stop saying mentally retarded. And of course, the students were a bit offended, and the students told him not to do it. And he told them that he knew better than they did. And of course, this became a cause celebre, and unfortunately, we had to retire him. Each setting has different expectations. Roles vary based on different ages and backgrounds of clients, system size, individuals, groups, families, and organizations, level of training or education. And all of these have to do with how you can be a professional or how you should be a professional. So if I'm 72 years old, if I were trying to work with teenagers in certain neighborhoods. Would I wear shorts that came down below my underwear? And the crotch was around my knees. Would that be appropriate? And the answer is certainly not, because that's not age appropriate for me. Uh, and I would look like I was trying to look like the kids, and that's just not right. That is not professional, actually. Practitioners with graduate degrees might have several roles: working independently in private practice, being a counselor or educator, being a supervisor, being a consultant, being a director. One task that practitioners with graduate degrees may be asked to do is act as a mediator. A mediator provides an impartial forum for disputing parties to discuss areas of disagreement or misunderstanding. Generalists maintain expertise in a broad range of functions: case management, coordination and monitoring of services, as a broker linking clients with services and resources, and as an advocate working to support a client. Being professional goes beyond what you do in your interactions with colleagues and clients. Being aware of the social, political, economic, and cultural factors that impact individuals, families, groups, and institutions, and advocating for their betterment. Developing a professional identity involves knowing what it means to be a practitioner of your particular discipline. Scope of practice involves knowing what activities, knowledge, and skills identified by licensing boards and professional organizations relate to your discipline. Sometimes organizations will employ groups of professionals that they will organize into working teams. Each member will bring their own professionalism, culture, education, and individual ways of dealing with clients. Working productively with interdisciplinary teams is an important aspect of being a professional. This may mean that the practitioner must learn the language of another profession. Every professional must respect the expertise of their professional colleagues. The practitioner working in a team must recognize that different professionals may work toward the same goal using different methods. Even in the same profession, practitioners may use different approaches. Your supervisor will help evaluate your level of competency by providing feedback about your use of skills, inviting you to engage in self-reflection. Consultation involves meeting with an expert who can help you solve a particular dilemma or problem. Sometimes your client's problem may be beyond you or your team's ability to handle. At that point, a consultant must be called in to help. Most professions set ethical guidelines for remaining current with best practices, continuing education, evaluating your work, continuing education, and ethical standards every year. While the practitioner is responsible for structuring the relationship with the client, success can only be reached if the relationship is collaborative, goal directed, purposeful, and time limited. A relationship between a client and practitioner is a fiduciary relationship. The client has confidence and trust, and that's what fiduciary means, in the practitioner's competency. Unequal with the practitioner having more power than the client, but with power comes a responsibility to help the client in the manner prescribed initially by the practitioner. And that is it. As weird as that may seem, I'll see you next week.